first story is titled, Am I the a-hole for correcting school papers in front of my ex-wife's husband? She remarried a few years ago and made it clear that she wanted no more kids. That really upset him. He awkwardly tries to bond with our kids, and a few times he's crossed boundaries. I really have no relationship with him, but there is tension between us. My oldest started middle school, which required updating his registration information. My ex said she used the same information as before, but I wanted to change my email address. I went to his school, and my ex's husband was there. He was dropping off some stuff for my ex. I didn't acknowledge him until I saw the paperwork for my son. The information was written out not by her but by her husband. He had listed himself as the parent and me as an other contact. I looked at him and said, "Really, Brent?" He looked at me and asked, "What is it now? You put yourself as Tyler's dad?" It was a mistake if I did. Yeah, okay. Well, it's a mistake I'm correcting right now. It was embarrassing for him, and I clearly put him on the defensive without warning. Like I said, I don't talk to him. He told my ex I made him feel like a criminal in front of everyone. My ex understood correcting the information, but said there was no need to call him out like that. All I said is that he won't do it again based on how I handled it. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Doesn't sound like calling out to me. You just noticed, clarified, and corrected a mistake that he made. It only becomes a problem if it was intentional, and there is cause for people to get emotional. It was intentional. No step-parent puts themselves as a parent unless the other parent isn't in the picture at all. OP is Tyler's dad and is in his life. Sounds like Brent wanted to take OP's place since he married a woman who doesn't want more kids. If kids are so important to Brent, divorce the ex and marry a woman who wants kids. This. I am not on my fiancé's kid's registration as a parent and only as an emergency contact behind the parents and able to pick up the kids. Approved release person. When I complete the paperwork, my daughter's father is absolutely listed as a parent with my fiancé in the contact/pickup role, and that's with my daughter's dad living 4 hours away from her. Stepdad wanted to cause drama and tried to pull off a low-key who's in charge, and he got caught. This is the small stuff that in aggregate amounts to parental alienation. Not the a-hole. It was not a mistake. He did it on purpose. Why? Because he literally put himself as the parent and you as the other contact. I think Brent wants to replace OP as Tyler's dad. Not the a-hole. I find that really creepy. Nobody accidentally lists himself as the parent and the child's parent as the other. If he did not want to be publicly embarrassed, he should not have deliberately lied. It's good you corrected him publicly because it will make it more difficult to be sneaky in the future, and the school will keep an eye on him. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for not visiting my in-laws after my brother-in-law told my son to call him daddy? I, female 35, lost my husband a year ago in a car accident. This was the most devastating thing that ever happened in my entire life. And I got to say, I lost dear ones before this tragedy, and it's completely different kind of pain. I have a 3-year-old son that my in-laws help take care of. My mother-in-law, sister, and brother-in-law have been supportive and helped a lot. My brother-in-law would literally spoil my son with new toys and clothes, and they do a lot of activities together. My brother-in-law is divorced and has been coming to my in-laws' house all the time. I have either my mother-in-law or brother-in-law babysit my son while I work. My job requires me to go on trips between 5 days to 2 weeks, depends on my circumstances. And I had my first business trip after my husband's passing 3 weeks ago. My brother-in-law offered to look after my son while I'm gone, and I thought nothing of it but was a bit worried since my late husband was the one to look after our son whenever I'm away. I called every night to check in on him and things were going well. I returned a few days ago, and I went straight to my in-laws' house where my son was. I spent a day there talking to my brother-in-law about what they did and such. I was playfully asking my son if he had a good time, and he told me that Daddy took him to see the ducks at the park, and I paused after I heard him call my brother-in-law Daddy. He did it again while my brother-in-law was talking to him. I was confused. My mother-in-law was just looking at me but said nothing. I asked my brother-in-law and he said it was nothing. But my son kept saying Daddy till the evening. I was so mad I corrected my son many times, telling him that this is uncle, not daddy. My brother-in-law got mad and told me to let my son call him whatever he wanted. I confronted him about teaching my son to call him daddy, and he admitted he did that. He argued that I wouldn't have a problem if I let my son call some stranger daddy. I yelled at him and told him to stop whatever he thinks he's trying to do and to respect my boundaries. He walked out immediately, avoiding to discuss it any further. I was also mad at my mother-in-law, as she was seeing all of this and not doing anything about it. I took my son and went home. My son still says daddy, and it hurts every time because he hasn't used this word since his dad's passing. I told my mother-in-law I won't be visiting any longer, and she started texting me saying I can't do that and I have no right. She said that I was being ungrateful for the people who supported me and I should stop being mean and using my son to get them in line, demanding that I visit with my son. The trip was 3 weeks ago. It's my first since my husband's passing. He passed away a year ago. I'm sorry if anyone got confused by that. I just haven't been myself lately, I'm sorry. I thought I should mention this in case it is relevant. My brother-in-law's ex-wife had a stillbirth in 2018, and they both got separated months after. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Your brother-in-law did something psychotic. That is so freaking weird and messed up. I would avoid that wacko too. And my condolences for your loss. It's so psychotic that I wonder if Opie's in-laws are planning to try to get custody of her son. With her traveling for work, and then helping even when she is working locally, they spend a lot of time with him. If they can also say that the son considers brother-in-law to be his dad, they might have an argument for at least joint custody. I really hope I'm wrong though, because taking advantage of Opie's circumstances in such a way is nothing short of depraved. Yeah, totally. I would 100% not leave your kid with these people anymore, OP. I wouldn't put it past them. They truly sound bonkers. Holy smokes, not the a-hole. Your in-laws are way out of line. How in the world does your brother-in-law think he is entitled to be called daddy now? That man has issues. And so what if you started dating again? That does not mean your son has to call that man dad. Is there any way you could have your family help to take care of your son? I would not go over anymore if brother-in-law was there. And maybe not even go over at all, because your mother-in-law is enabling your brother-in-law to do this to your son. There's also a huge difference between her entering into a relationship with a man and her son eventually calling him dad if they got married or something, versus her brother-in-law assuming that role in her and her son's life. Super creepy. Not at a-hole. That's his uncle, not his dad. It's great that your son can count on his uncle for a father figure, but if your brother-in-law keeps insisting on calling him daddy, he's either trying to replace your husband or he's a creep. Either way, your brother-in-law was wrong to teach your son to call him that. Now for the next story. Would I be the a-hole if I don't go to my daughter's wedding? When my daughter was 17, I found that my ex-wife had been cheating on me with my brother. On top of that, my wife and I had 4 kids together. But during the divorce, my wife produced DNA tests to show that my youngest 2 children weren't even mine. They were his. They're still married and nobody on my side of the family talks to my brother anymore. A few years ago, my biological son got married and he didn't invite his mom, and everybody on my side of the family went. Now, my biological daughter is getting married, but nobody from my side of the family is going because my ex-wife is going. My daughter told me she didn't invite my brother, but I told her that I'm not going if my ex is there. Because knowing her, she'll try to bring my brother as her +1 or something. Despite what happened between me and my ex, I know mothers and daughters have a different type of bond, and she wants her mom to be there just as much as she wants me there, but I don't think I can. I have my brother and my ex blocked, but she still managed to send me a message recently telling me to suck it up and stop making this all about you because this is our daughter's wedding day and more important than any history we have together. I kind of feel bad because my daughter has actually been the most vocal of my children against what her mother did. During the back and forth during the divorce, she spoke up and said she wanted to spend her last year before college with me and not with her mom. And though I hate to give ultimatums, sometimes in life you just have to choose a side. Would I be the a-hole if I don't go? Now for the top comments. You would be the a-hole. For once, your ex-wife is right in that message. Your daughter's wedding is more important than whatever animosity you have going on between you two. This, and if she ever has children, Are you willing to miss all of their birthday parties, graduation ceremonies, and weddings too? Your daughter has nothing to do with whatever's between your ex and you. It isn't her fault, and the wedding isn't truly about you or your ex. It's about your daughter. Do it for her. You would be the a-hole, absolutely. I know this is tough to hear because the infidelity isn't your fault. But grow up, please. Ignore her. Have a friend come with you to distract her if she tries to talk to you. This is your daughter, and her wedding isn't about you. It's supposed to be your special day, not your let's be petty day. Exactly. He should go and stay on the other side of the room. He can even ask to be seated far from his ex. If they accidentally come face to face, he can smile and walk away. People will know why, and he won't be considered rude. Really, we are talking about biting your lip for half a day so his daughter can have the wedding she wants. You're the a-hole. You have a choice whether or not you go, but be prepared to throw away your relationship with your daughter. You are basically saying that your hate for your ex-wife/brother are more important to you than your love for your daughter. You have stronger feelings about your ex than your daughter. The last story is titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my dad he doesn't get to ask me to keep him in the loop about my life when he didn't tell me when he got engaged? My dad and I, 21 female, aren't close. I would say we talk maybe once or twice a year normally. The fallout happened when I was 14. My mom had died 5 years before, and he told me he had gotten engaged the day she and her 2 kids were moving in with us. He told me he had been afraid to tell me, and just wanted me to be happy for him and to embrace the fact our family got a little bigger. I was so hurt. Her kids knew about it for over 2 years. They had met my dad. They had spent time with my dad. They had been told about me and they were expecting me to be excited to meet them. They even started planning a thing for us 3 kids to do at the wedding to show how happy we were to become a family. I was so mad and hurt. I never ever expected my dad to stay single forever. But he wanted me to be happy without any warning of what was happening, without any chance to get to know them. His wife's sons were already telling people they were getting a big sister, and I was clueless about the whole damn thing. I had maybe 6 hours to prepare, and then they were looking for physical affection, which I wasn't able to give, and my dad was hurt and pissed. And I have never gotten over it. I decided to just move on with my life. Even when I lived there, I didn't really talk to my dad anymore. And I become a lot more independent and tried to live my own life. We had a huge fight when I was 17, and he told me my mom would not have wanted me to make his life harder, and she would have been disappointed I wasn't willing to embrace new people for him. I told him she would have been disappointed in him for dropping it all on me when it was too late for me to get used to the idea, or to get to know them before they became an everyday part of my life. I told him mom had struggled so much when her dad died, and her mom remarried. And imagine how she would have felt knowing her own husband would hide the fact it was happening until the new spouse was moving in. Anyway, I started dating my boyfriend in high school but never told my dad. We moved in together just before lockdown, which is when my dad found out. And then he was outraged and never told him I was dating or moving in with someone. I called him a hypocrite and told him he can't expect me to keep him updated on my life after what he pulled, when he still doesn't see why it would have fractured my trust in him. He's been reaching out more than ever, but it's only to complain. Am I the a-hole though? I wonder if I'm just being a petty jerk. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole, and your dad using the "your mother would want you to" line was emotional blackmail. It was, especially when he knew she had lost a parent young too and struggled, for different reasons, but still. The fact he thinks my mom would be like, "You did good to him," makes me kind of mad. She was a firm believer in giving the kids room to breathe and get to really know a new partner/spouse/family in the case of a divorce or the death of their parent. I hold the same view now for the reason of what my dad did to me. Not the a-hole. He doesn't get to be pissed at you when he's done the exact same thing. Good on you for calling him out on being a hypocrite too. It was an awful thing for him to do, and not really comparable to you moving in with/having a boyfriend, as it doesn't directly affect him unlike what his actions did to you. This is a point I make too. He doesn't have to live with my boyfriend. I have to live with 3 strangers who expect a daughter and a sister from day one. Not the a-hole, but as others have said, have a think about what, if any, relationship you want. If he's reaching out more than ever, then he wants a relationship. He's just going absolutely stupid wrong ways about it. And if you want to try for it, you need to set limits and remind him he can't play overbearing dad after so long a fracture. I don't know about that. I think it's just Maddie did the same thing to him, only way less serious since he doesn't have to change his household. I honestly think if he really wanted a relationship, he would start acknowledging where he messed up and apologize. But maybe I'm wrong. And that's the end of this video, folks. As always, leave a comment and hit like and subscribe. And if you want more of this content, turn your notification on to get updated on the latest videos. And I'll catch you with the next one. Stay safe.